As you all know, I just made it to 1,000 subscribers, so you know what that means. Obviously, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna strip for you guys. I'll do that at a later date. We'll do that at 1,000 subs. No, wait, I'm already there. 100,000 subs. Nope, that's too far. 10,000 subs, I'll strip for you. I'll strip it down all the way to my undies. Ugh. This is exactly what the One Piece world needs. The One Piece YouTube world needs me, okay? I am the fire that it doesn't have. You know, you have like Grand Line Review and you've got Teching and they're all cool with their little spiels, but Amaze is here to drop it. Amaze is here to bring entertainment, boys. Anyway, welcome everybody, I'm Amaze the Storyteller, and we're going to be talking about the top 5 warlords that never were. Come with me. There are people in the One Piece story who are just as powerful, if not more so powerful, than the current warlords that just never became them. I know, it's crazy, right? And the number one will absolutely shock you. The number one warlord on my top 5 pick might blow your mind. So you want to stick around, you silly goose, and I love you. I really do. Anyway, let's get right into it. So I got my handy-dandy notebook here. Now, I'm not as professional as Liam from Grand Line Review or Matt from Teching 101, but one thing I am is funny as shit. Alright. Number 5, we've got Foxy. Now, who is Foxy? Well, we've broken it down before on this channel, I'm sure, but Foxy has a giant crew of 100,000 men. I know, crazy, right? Well, he's the one that introduced the Davy Back fight into the entirety of the One Piece series, which Rocksteady Zebek, you know, a major villain within the series, is probably going to have some relationship with. You know, Rocksteady Zebek very well could have introduced all these dudes to the Davy Back fight. I know, that was a little convoluted. Let's try again. So, Rocksteady Zebek totally used the Davy Back fight in order to amass power, the same way Foxy did. Although Foxy's more of like a gimmick, a gag, I think he was written that way on purpose, because that gives more credibility and more credence to Rocksteady Zebek. Any hoochie nanny. Rocksteady Zebek is totally going to be used as a catalyst for what Foxy was. Now, Rocksteady Zebek is going to bring credibility back to the Davy Back fight, whereas Foxy was more of a joke, and we didn't take it seriously as viewers at that time, because it's saved for a later purpose. That's kind of what Foxy represents. He represents the later purpose of things. But he's got an incredible devil fruit. He's got the slow beam, you know, that one. And he can like freeze you in time for 30 seconds. And then once 30 seconds is up, it goes really fast, and then like you don't know what to do. So he's got an incredible devil fruit ability, and he's got super powerful individuals on his crew that he has no right having as part of his crew. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, what the hell is Foxy doing with all these fishmen and zone fruit users when he sucks? That's why I think he could have been a warlord. He could have been like the Buggy before Buggy. He could have had all this power. And it's not like insane to imagine that Foxy just takes over Long Ring Longland. Like, that wasn't necessarily his island, but he could have amassed that amount of power, and then he would have been labeled a warlord. Like, he is not... It's not ridiculous to think that Foxy could have become a warlord. Like, it's just not. It's just not. It's totally possible, totally feasible. Foxy has everything within his arsenal to become a very strong pirate. And he himself isn't the power base, it's his ginormous crew from him cheating in the Davy Back fights. Now, this is a cool little tidbit about Foxy. He's actually a world champion boxer. That's right. Him and Ideo? Doesn't matter. Him and Ideo. Damn it, this is gonna really fuck me up for the video. I'm gonna leave this in because I think it's funny to see me fuck up, but Jesus Christ. Ideo and Foxy, definitely cut this out, future me. Definitely. If you don't, I'm coming for you, future me. I'm gonna get you, future me. Anyway, Ideo and Foxy were in the same tournament at one point, and we know Foxy won that tournament. Now, what is that tournament? Well, there's a World Boxing Federation within the One Piece world. There's also a CP7 or CP8 character named Jerry, who's also a world champion boxer. So those are really cool fun facts that are kind of like that Oda puts in there to kind of keep us going. Then we're like, ooh, Pete the Candy, you know what I mean? So Foxy's no joke. Foxy's no joke, especially pre-time skip. I think he totally could have been a warlord. I think like the same character design, the same character aspects, he could have literally been a warlord. It wouldn't have changed anything with the story if he was one. The only thing that would have changed is maybe our perception of how strong the warlords are. I don't know who you'd replace Foxy with, but you know, out of the original 7, I think Foxy would fit right in there. He even has an animal aesthetic like most of the warlords have. Not only that, I'm sure you could write in that he's associated with one of the 4 Yonko. He could have been in association with, let's say, Shanks. You know, Shanks has the smallest crew, Foxy has the largest crew, maybe they've had run-ins before. It wouldn't be hard to make that work in storytelling, but I understand why he's not. Here's a few reasons why he didn't. It's because Afro Luffy. Anyway, so Foxy's my number 5 pick. Who's gonna be my number 4 pick, though? Ooh. My number 4 pick might just be the most controversial pick on this entire list. It might just turn you away from this video altogether and make you hate me as a YouTuber. It might just make your pants fall off, though. The trade-off is immense. It might just make you so goddamn excited to see me again that it's just going to be an aphrodisiac. You're just going to be all over the camera. There's going to be a lot of bloopers in this fucking video, man. I don't know what's going on with me today, but our number 4 pick is Rob D. Lucci. I know he's not a D member, but it's fun to fantasize, right? Now, the cool thing about Rob Lucci is that you could totally spin it in a way that he's a warlord, right? Because you could have been like, oh, he's a former CP9 agent. And then you could have introduced CP9 with different characters, but make Luffy defeat Rob Lucci in order to take on the current CP9 members. Like, the CP9 arc could have been your arc to introduce Haki, and Lucci's the prerequisite to Luffy learning Haki. Because that's such a cool idea. I love that idea. Like, here's the setting. Totally backtracking. Let's start fresh. Here's the setting, right? Luffy fights Rob Lucci. Rob Lucci is a Haki Rokushiki zone user, former world government agent, become warlord, and he just absolutely beats the shit out of Luffy. His techniques are so beyond Luffy's capabilities at this point, it's impossible to fathom Luffy beating him right now. Luffy gets his ass beat, ass handed to him, meets Frankie. Frankie knows a little bit about Haki, maybe. Introduce it in that way. Or Luffy finds somebody on Water 7 who knows about Haki. Maybe introduce Ace back into the story. Ace teaches him about Haki, just so happens to be on Water 7. And then they transition into Luffy's pseudo time skip. It doesn't have to be 2 years. Luffy could have learned this in a few months, like who knows, right? And it doesn't have to be Rayleigh at this point in the story. That could have been for Ryo and in Wano, and when Luffy gets smacked down by Kaido, he meets Rayleigh. I think that would have been more appropriate within the story, but I love One Piece's story, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that within the continuity of this video, Rob Lucci would make a perfect pre-time skip warlord. Here's a few more reasons. Number 1, he still fits the animal aesthetic. Number 2, his power gauge is insane. He's a powerful character. Even now, he's a powerful character with his awakening. It's wild how crazy strong Rob Lucci is. Number whatever we're on, listen, Lucci can smack the entirety of the warlords. Like the pre-time skip warlords, Lucci with his awakening now can absolutely body most, if not all, of the current warlords. Doflamingo might be the only one I can think of that would give him some kind of credence or trouble. So, that being said, Rob Lucci's a perfect candidate. Him being a world government leader, you know, especially turned warlord, is such a cool premise. Like, what would Lucci's bounty be, dude? Like, what do you get for being a former CP9 agent that just turns rogue and absolutely goes insane? And maybe he kills, like, the former CP9 agents. That's why we don't get to see them. And that's why there's, like, a whole fresh character set. Like, what do you get for that? Is that 400 million? 500 million? 340 million? Same as Doflamingo? I don't know. It'd be cool to find out, though, for sure. Another thing that I think Lucci could introduce is Kaido. And here's why. I'm cutting that out. Future me, fix that shit. But imagine Lucci being the crux that introduces Kaido. And like Lucci could still have a relationship with Who's Who, and we find that out later on in the story when the Straw Hats are taking on, the Beast Pirates. That'd be such a cool introduction. Like Who's Who comes out and he's like, "So you defeated my apprentice, Monkey D. Luffy. You defeated Lucci." And then Luffy's all like, "Oh yeah? Fuck you." And just fucking like bodies Who's Who. But no. In all seriousness, I think Lucci would make a perfect warlord. His temperament, his strength, his training, his attitude. I mean, everything about Lucci. Like, even now, I know I'm getting jumbled again because my mind's running a million miles per minute. But listen, when I think of the baddest asses in all of One Piece, Lucci will always come to mind. Top 10 villain lists, Lucci's on there every single time. So Lucci being a warlord pre-time skip, absolutely perfect. I love it. That being said, that was our number 4. Who's our number 3 pick, though? As you guys can probably tell, I'm a fucking Lucci diehard fan. I mean, I just creamed my pants and didn't give you any information for like 4 minutes straight. Okay, this time though, I'm not a fan of this guy, but I do think that when you're looking at him on paper, he points to everything a warlord has. Power, influence, land. I mean, he's got it all. And that individual is none other than Arlong. I know, I was just waiting for your reaction. Yeah, I think Arlong could have been a pre-time skip warlord. And here's a few reasons why. Number 1 is that he already had ties with the world government. He partnered with this asshole Nezumi, who fucking, was dealing underground shit with Arlong, covering up Arlong's crimes. Arlong would destroy a town. Nezumi would just be like, "Shee, okay, cover it up now," and get paid by Arlong. And Arlong, maintained this relationship really well, up until the point where Luffy defeated Nezumi, or whoever it was that defeated Nezumi. I don't care to remember. Maybe it was Nami. It doesn't matter. Regardless, Arlong did have a relationship with the world government, specifically the Marines. Alright, leave that in me. Future me, you leave that shit in. I want them to see what I go through to make them a video. But, man, I'm so aggressive to myself. Y'all see that? I need therapy. Anyway, Nezumi and Arlong's relationship ends, and Arlong panics. It's kind of insane, because Nezumi just tries to double-cross Arlong, I believe. And then, after the whole thing's said and done, that's how Luffy even got his first bounty, was because Nezumi escapes to tell the story of what happened with Arlong. But Arlong, up until that point, was like a pseudo-warlord in the East Blue. He picked the East Blue because it was the most calm, it's the easiest to do business transactions, and maintain control. There's not a whole lot of competition for Arlong in the East Blue, which is probably why he chose it. Because, your competition is a guy who's not even a pirate anymore that has cat claws. And then you have Don Craig, but Don Craig left the East Blue. He was no longer in the East Blue. He was on the Grand Line, So I don't think that Arlong is necessarily threatened by anybody in the East Blue. But whatsoever. Maybe if Shanks came back. But, no other warlord is camping out in the East Blue and is going to give Arlong issues. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. That being said, I do think Arlong deserves a spot towards the warlord list because he was introduced way too early. I mean, when we saw the Fisher Tiger flashback, we really got a taste of how strong Arlong actually is and how reputable he is as a pirate. Because when we first meet him in the East Blue, that's a revised bounty. Remember, Arlong was pseudo-captured by Kizaru before Fisher Tiger turned himself in to save the civilians, or whatever happened. I don't remember, that was fucking forever ago. But Arlong definitely is stronger than when we see him. Arlong's strength comes from his charisma. He's also a super powerful fishman. He's stronger than Horty Jones. Horty was a threat too, but Arlong is stronger than Horty. Horty looked up to Arlong. Get that out. Get rid of that. Get rid of it. Shorten it. These guys don't want to see me stutter. I don't want to see me stutter. Fuck you, future me. Anyway, so Arlong is very capable, very powerful, and very fluent and charismatic. So he does in fact label himself. I mean, he doesn't label himself. He does check all the boxes for a warlord, if I am so humbly going to suggest. So anyway, we talking about? This is why you shouldn't fight, guys. You shouldn't box because it gives you brain damage. Also, another fun fact about boxing, you can tell a boxer and you can tell what their weak points are based off of their enlarged facial features. What are my enlarged facial features? Well, number one, I get hit square in the face a lot. My nose has broadened and flattened a little bit, kind of crazy. I used to have a very thin, long nose. I have a very smushed, long nose, so not a great compensation. Also, if you look, the bags underneath my eyes, they actually droop over my eyelids a little bit. That's actually from not being able to slip straights. Fun facts. So if you ever box, just know you're going to take damage. You're going to take a lot of damage. It's not going to be good for you. You're going to have this split on your nose. You're going to break your nose a few times. It's going to be really uncomfortable. You're going to break your teeth. It's not going to be great. And you'll get brain damage like me, and then you'll stutter throughout One Piece videos trying to please your audience. Not great. Not great. Any hoochie nanny. Let's get back into it, guys. Let's rope it back in. We're talking about Arlong. Arlong being a warlord. Pissing off some of the One Piece community that doesn't know Arlong's actually stronger than he actually is. Rope it back in. Alright. So he still adheres to the fishman aesthetic of the warlord. Like, you know, the warlords demanded that there would be a fishman in their group to create more ties with Fishman Island. Jinbei is the perfect fit for that because of his attitude and his laid-back temperament. Arlong, however, would be a way more fun choice. Arlong being a warlord and his connections to Fishman Island, Arlong would drive through hatred alone. He wouldn't be driving like Jinbei trying to improve human relationships and, you know, enact Princess Orihime's will. No. Arlong would be like, I'm gonna kill all you humans. And then Arlong would put together an underground faction of fishmen that are trying to kill, you know, the celestial dragons, which is kind of cool. I'm all for that. I'm all for it. Arlong, you do you, buddy. You kill all of the motherfucking celestial dragons. Because they're pieces of shit, dude. I am on the side that I don't think anybody should die, but celestial dragons should probably be killed. If we're all being honest, they should all die. But anywho, nanny, so Arlong's the number 3 pick, but who's number 2? Let's find out here in just a second. So just to recap as we head to the latter half of this video, we have Foxy at number 5, Lucci at number 4, and Arlong at number 3. Now, who's our number 2 pick? Well, it's really simple. It's Emporio Ivankov. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking, because Ivankov, when I rewatched the Impel Down and Marineford arc to prepare for this video, this is the whole reason I'm making this video, is because Emporio Ivankov is absolutely wild. For one, their abilities are fucking weird. Why do you get a Hell Wink? Why do you get a Galaxy Wink? Why do you get all the cosmetic fucking abilities that have nothing to do with your hormone abilities? And I know I've said it on the channel, it's even in my banner, but guys, I have a lot of certifications and degrees and shit in physiology. That's not how hormones work to my knowledge. You don't just bleep and then growth hormone and then your face gets bigger. But still, like that I can understand. It's fiction, it's One Piece, it's wacky. I can understand the big face. But dude, the Hell Wink, the Galaxy Wink, the fucking multiplication, there's a scene where Ivankov like spins and is able to dodge all this shit. Like Ivankov is the most well-rounded fighter I have seen pre-time skip. There is like so many abilities that Ivankov has that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So why the fuck is Ivankov not a warlord? Why aren't they a warlord? They're super powerful. They have their own island. They have thousands, if not millions, of Okama underneath them. I mean, that island is stacked, dude. You seen that island? Go back and watch when Sanji puts on that dress. Dude, I don't blame Sanji. Did you see all of them out there? There's nothing you could do. There's nothing you could do. Alright? You gotta conform because that shit has its own laws and you gotta respect the culture. You gotta be a stand-up fucking citizen when you go to that island. Right? But Ivankov is super powerful. The hormone injections alone put them on a different podium than everybody else we'd seen pre-time skip. Why am I so fluent right now in the video? That's fucking crazy. Anyway, Ivankov is such a cool character. I love Emporio so much. Whenever I was watching it the first time, I was like, oh, okay. They're based off of that one movie, that one musical. horror picture show. There we go. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I get it. It's pop culture. You kids are probably too young to understand. Remember, I'm pushing 30. I'm getting old. But Ivankov is such a powerful character, especially at the time that they're released. Crazy. Crazy abilities. Don't understand how it works. Not going to question it. There is no reason that I see Ivankov other than they didn't want to become one. Listen, Ivankov is extremely powerful. There's no reason within the One Piece story that Ivankov should not be a warlord. There's none. Ivankov is taking on individuals like Akainu and surviving, Magellan and surviving, freaking like every baddie in the series. Mihawk couldn't fucking finish Ivankov. So it's so weird to me that Ivankov was never, at least to our knowledge, offered a warlord position. They definitely should have. There's no reason. Power-wise, charisma-wise, influence-wise, Ivankov is extremely powerful as an individual. Look at today's world. I'm not going to get controversial, but pick any individual that identifies similarly to Ivankov's beliefs and look at how powerful they are and how influential they are. It's a huge thing. And a very big deal. And I respect it. I love Ivankov. I love Bon Clay. Those are two of my favorite characters in all of One Piece because it's such a wacky transition, right? You have a very, for the most part, fun, easygoing manga, anime where it's about this pirate kid. He's going to become king of the pirates and then he goes to prison. And you're like, all right, whatever. And then there's like a pseudo gay country down there. There's the LGBTQ community down there partying it up, fucking each other, all the way down there in 5.5. They're getting it. And Luffy's just like, this is awesome. He doesn't really like change because Luffy doesn't see or have sexual desires. That's just not the way Luffy's wired or written for that matter. But Bon Clay's there and Bon Clay's like, is this heaven? And I don't blame him, dude. It's a giant orgy fest with feasts, especially when you're an Impel Down of all places. So it's fucking crazy. Ivankov, definitely my number 2 choice on this list. Absolutely wild that they're not a warlord, to be honest with you. Together, we finally made it this far. Through my stammering, my stuttering, and my rants. You finally made it. Now you get to see who the number 1 pick is. But why the hell have you made it this far? Well, it's because you love me and I love you. We're friends now. We're friends. Comment that you made it to this point in the video and I will heart it and I will say good job because you're awesome. You guys ready? I know I'm edging you. Not letting you have it just yet. Again, I'm not like these soft other dweebs like Grand Line Review and Tekken 101. You can go watch their videos for informative videos. You come here because of the rage, the fire that's in my heart. Anyway. Hello there. It's me. No, I'm kidding. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1 pick is Renora Zoro. I know. Think about it this way, right? Everything happens up until the Saba Odi arc. The Saba Odi arc happens. Kuma sends everyone flying away. Luffy panics. Marineford happens. Ace dies. Zoro is sent to whatever that kingdom was to train with Mihawk. Now, I know you guys are like pissed off in the comments. Why didn't you do research? I don't remember everything. Alright, I have like little footnotes in this fucking thing, but brain damage, guys. Brain damage. I'm gonna make a t-shirt. Brain damage. Listen. Zoro gets teleported to be on that kingdom, cut this out, me. If you don't fucking cut this out, I'm gonna slap the shit out of your energy drinks. I'll do it. He gets teleported to that kingdom where Mihawk just so happens to be, and Perona just so happens to be. He trains under Mihawk for 2 years, but what if he defeats Mihawk? He defeats Mihawk within that 2 years. Luffy knows nothing of it. They're still meeting at Saba Odi, but after that 2 years, Zoro gets offered a warlord position and still meets up at Saba Odi, still keeps this to himself, everything's the same. We as the audience know that Zoro's a warlord, but Luffy doesn't. Luffy's in the dark. Luffy would then have, as a Yonko, he would then have a warlord and a former warlord on his crew, Jinbei and Zoro. That is absolutely wild for power scaling wise. Like, Luffy would instantly become one of the most powerful Yonko. He is the most powerful Yonko. Let me just satisfy some of the Luffy diehards that are coming in here. Luffy's the He's gonna be Pirate King. Yes, we know. That's why we're fans of the series. Calm down. Okay. Zoro becoming a warlord wouldn't really impact the series as a whole that much, but it would definitely be really, really cool, and his ambitions would shift. Him defeating Mihawk would be such an important shift in the series, because right now, guys, and I'm positive that a lot of you have forgotten about this, but Zoro stated that his ambitions go above Luffy's. Luffy's ambitions do not come first. And there's been instances in the series that make you absolutely question this. Like the nothing happened. But as Zoro said, nothing happened. Because it would be a scar on his back, so to speak, to his ambition. That's why he says nothing happened. Okay? The thing is, if he defeated Mihawk, he could go all out in protecting Luffy, and narratively, you could have him sacrifice himself in a beautiful moment that none of us see coming. And nobody dies in One Piece, but imagine if Zoro was the one to go. It would be crazy, it would be insane, and I wouldn't love if Zoro died, personally, but as a narrative, like taking a narrative class, knowing what I know about storytelling, that would be absolutely wild. That would just blow my mind altogether. So, the story would dramatically change later from this, because Zoro's ambition would be complete. He would become the strongest, Kuina's death wish would become a reality, and Zoro's able to move on from that and actually become what Luffy needs. Because right now, Zoro cannot be what Luffy needs Zoro to be. His ambitions are too great. They're compromising, or excuse me, future me, I'm watching your ass. You better actually put in the work to cut this out. If you don't, I'm gonna draw a penis on your forehead later. I'm gonna do it. You better cut this shit out. You better do it, motherfucker. But anyway, Zoro's ambition would definitely... It's going to hinder Luffy at some point. It's going to conflict with Luffy's goals. Because being the Pirate King and being the world's strongest swordsman, those are two separate avenues that require two different crews to accomplish. Because Mihawk is never going to be in the same place twice. Just like Luffy's never going to be in the same place twice. Because both of those individuals are constantly moving goals. They're constantly shifting, adjusting. Because the Pirate King is not a linear goal. It's not. It's a whole bunch of micro goals that you have to accomplish. Same way with becoming the strongest. Actually, I would say the strongest swordsman is way more linear than becoming the Pirate King. Because, like, you don't have to get the poneglyphs, you don't have to do all this shenanigans by fighting emperors and fighting warlords to climb and scale up in notoriety. No. If you want to become the strongest, that title already is taken, and you gotta take it from that taken. You gotta go after Mihawk and spank him. You gotta bend him over your knee and just... So if Zoro already had done that, become a warlord, then got abolished, he could give himself entirely to Luffy. And it would be beautiful if that happened. But it didn't. So now Zoro's in a place where his ambition could very well ruin Luffy. I'm sure it's gonna get to that point. I'm sure Oda is more capable of a writer than I have ever given him credit for. And I think he's one of the best, if not the best, mangaka of all time. The only reason I say one of the best is because Togashi, the guy that wrote Hunter x Hunter, is my favorite, writing style-wise. I think his storytelling is the best, and I think if he was in perfect health, he could give Oda a run for his money. If he had been consistent this whole time, he could have given Oda a really good run for his money. But, back to Zoro. There's going to be a point where Oda writes this. There has to be, because it's still a plot hole. Zoro's ambition will get in the way of Luffy's at some point, and they have to compromise. Luffy either has to compromise with Zoro, or Zoro has to compromise with Luffy. In any case, they will end up missing out on something, and it should be a conflict. I would not, as a One Piece fan, rewatch the series, because what I'm about to say is going to blow your mind. I don't think Zoro is going to be Luffy's best friend by the end of the series. I don't think Zoro is going to be on the crew by the end of the series. Usopp leaving the crew was major. It was major. It was a tragedy. It was horrible. It was sad. I don't think that this is going to be the same level, where it's like comedic to a point, but also really sad. We're going to have our hearts felt for Usopp and Luffy because the Mary, we're going to love Mary, we're going to cry about Mary. No. This is going to turn into us hating Zoro. The biggest betrayal in all of One Piece is going to be Zoro choosing his ambition over Luffy's. and I hope this makes it into a short because that is my message, is that you cannot forget about that aspect. It's easy to forget because of how long One Piece is and how awesome Zoro is, but Zoro will betray Luffy eventually. And I shouldn't even call it a betrayal because Zoro's straight up honest about this. He's like, I will not let your ambitions come before mine. And I know what you're thinking. Oda's already crossed that bridge. He's already put Zoro in front of Luffy many times to protect Luffy. Zoro's already given up all of his ambitions to protect Luffy. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Absolutely horseshit. It's just written in a way to where it's deceptive. Because deception is the ultimate hook to keep you coming back into a story. And with this deception, who better to leave the crew than Zoro? Because look at the power dynamic of the crew. And I could totally see me being wrong about this. I'm like 20-80. I'm 80% sure this isn't going to happen. But I'm stating it for the event it does happen. I'm stating it because I think it's going to happen. I think, because look at the crew structure right now. You've got Jinbei in the mix. Where does Jinbei power stack against Zoro and Sanji? He's probably somewhere above Sanji, but below Zoro. I think that's the consensus. In my opinion, I think Sanji's a little bit stronger than Jinbei. I think he's got a little bit more in his arsenal. That being said, though, the power shift would go back to normal if either Jinbei left or Zoro left. And Zoro leaving is something none of the fans would predict, except for your boy. But I think that because it makes sense from a narrative perspective, there's going to be a point where they get close to the One Piece. And Zoro's like, we're about to achieve the One Piece, and I still haven't become the strongest swordsman. I need to fix that. By Luffy. And Luffy's going to try to stop him. Luffy's going to do everything he can to stop him. And Zoro's not going to necessarily defeat Luffy, but he's going to do enough to get away. He's going to do just enough to get away, or Sanji's going to hold back Luffy, or Jinbei and Sanji are going to hold back Luffy. There's going to be something that happens to where Zoro gets away. But back to the concept of the video, I think it would have been slightly better, maybe not long-term, but short-term, it would have been slightly better if Zoro had become a warlord over the 2-year time skip. And you kind of unpeel that onion as the story progresses with the Straw Hats. You know, they're like, oh, Zoro, you're still a warlord. That's super cool. How'd you become one? And Zoro's like, nothing happened, dude. And then we're all like, oh, cool. Okay, that makes sense. Whatever, we're moving on. And then it transitions to, oh, okay, Zoro is the strongest swordsman, and then he slices up King, and that's when it's revealed. It's revealed in an appropriate time when we're ready for it and excited about it. And then we're like, Zoro's the strongest swordsman already. That's why he can give himself to Luffy, and then the story can progress. But right now, Warlord video aside, potential Warlord video aside, I need you guys to understand this. There's going to be a point where Zoro leaves the crew. He has to. He has to, because there's no chance in hell that Zoro's putting his ambitions behind Luffy's. His ambitions come first. That was made very clear when Zoro joined the crew. That was made very clear throughout the entire series that Zoro is going to leave the crew at some point to achieve his own ambitions. Or he's going to be with the crew so that he can achieve his ambitions. But going to the One Piece, going to Laugh Tale, and fighting that major war at the end is not going to make Zoro the strongest swordsman. It just won't. It just won't. It's not possible. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the top 5 potential warlords. Me, what the fuck are we doing? Future me, cut that out. You better cut that shit out. You better do something about that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This took me a lot of thinking, a lot of preparation to make. More so about like who was going to be what and how this was going to go. I really wanted to save Zoro for last because I think he is truthfully the most surprising on this list. And I think he has the most potential to become a warlord pre-time skip. He was known as the Pirate Hunter. He was a very strong and capable individual. And the rest of these individuals on our list, you know, we had Foxy, we had Lucci, we had Emporio Ivankov, we had brain damage, guys. Brain damage. Don't get brain damage. Don't get brain damage ever. All right? Anyway. So for our list, We had Foxy, we had Lucci, we had Arlong, we had Emporio Ivankov, and then of course we had Zoro. Let me know what you guys thought of this list of potential former warlords or potential warlords pre-time skip. And I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, you motherfuckers. I know you don't. I know you don't like to like and subscribe, but you should like and subscribe because as I get bigger, I'm going to, again, just make sure that we're connected. I love you guys. I want to hear from you guys. Make sure to comment. You know, any comments are welcome, hate comments, it doesn't matter. I will not engage in a debate with you. I've made that mistake in the past. No, instead, I will have a cordial conversation with you until I can't because I truly, truly, in my heart of hearts, love you. I love the attention you give me, and I'm excited to move forward in this adventure. So, anyway, One Piece adventurers, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!